Hey there, Mike with Fraser Equine. Wow, look at that hoof. We're going to take you through the process of shoeing this high-low horse. First, we're going to work on the low hoof, or the hoof that is underrun, flared in the toe. So right now you see that I am dressing the hoof. This is the process of removing excess hoof wall that is considered to be a distortion to the normal hoof, or often referred to as flares. You might note as I'm doing this that I'm being careful not to remove too much hoof. The hoof wall is an integral part of the structure of the hoof capsule, and to remove too much of that hoof wall can, in many ways, harm the hoof and or the horse. So really being careful to only remove what's necessary, only remove what's considered to be distortion. Now you might like this. There's a rule of thumb. The first 1.5 to 2 inches from the coronet or hairline down is what's considered to be the true angle of the hoof. So when you're addressing flares, if you can align or rasp that foot back to align with that first 1.5 to 2 inches, typically you will find that your hoof is now in line with the bone structure inside. If you were to take an x-ray, you'd see that it's a nice parallel image between the outer hoof wall and the profile of the coffin bone. Again, being careful not to take too much of this hoof wall back. So now that I have the hoof dressed, I'm going to go through the process of shaping the shoe to match the hoof. You'll notice I'm working the shoe hot. I don't always do this, but in this instance, it's going to work out best because I have decided to use clips on this shoe, which are going to help hold the shoe in place. Plus, you may have noticed that the quarters on this hoof are really quite narrow. So shaping the shoe hot will allow me to really get a nice fit between the shoe and the hoof. If you're not familiar with clips, clips come up from the edge of the shoe, and when shoeing hot, you're able to burn those clips into the side of the hoof wall. They help hold the shoe in place. Now it is possible to simply bend clips to the hoof wall, but if you're able to burn them into the hoof wall, it is considered to be a superior fitting or application in doing so. And so that's what we're going to do here. Once I finally get this shoe shaped, I'll take it over to the hoof, and this is what allows me to, one, see how good my eye is, see if I was able to shape the shoe correctly to match the hoof. In this process, I am now hot seating the shoe to the hoof, burning the clips into the hoof wall, and checking fit. So I can make a whole video to the benefits of hot shoeing or hot seating shoes. But in this instance, I'd like to point out that, in addition to setting the clips into the hoof wall, when you hot seat a shoe, you're able to get a perfect mirror image between the shoe and the hoof. And ultimately, what that means is that the shoe will stay tighter longer with no voids between the shoe and the hoof. The nails will stay tight in that hoof longer. Now with my hammer and anvil, I'm doing some final leveling of the shoe in preparation for fit. Now as I set this shoe, something that's important to note is that I have intentionally set the heels wide on this hoof. What that does is allows for expansion. As this hoof grows, it tends to expand at the heels. So this allows for expansion throughout the shoeing cycle. As you can see now, I'm nailing the shoe in place. You might note as I go through this that I do not use the forward quarter nail. A few reasons. The hoof is narrow in the quarters, and also the clips are there. So if I can nail around those clips, it makes it a little bit easier to get a good nailing. And in this instance, like I said, the hoof is just narrow in those quarters, so I wanted to avoid that part of the hoof. Now when it comes to nailing, there's a lot of pride in the industry to have high set nails. For me, I like to have what's called a right set nail. Too low can be problematic. Too high can tend to lead to hot nails. So for me, I like to have a nail that is set right. Typically, it's a third of the way up the hoof wall, and I call those right set nails. See, I put a little tweak on the end of that nail. That's a little trick. If you've been around the shoeing game for a while, that's going to help direct that nail to come through the outside of the hoof. As you can see, again, I didn't like it. So, hey, third time is a charm. That's what we're going for. And I got it that time. Now I'm using a block. This is the process of taking the slack out of the nails. It sucks the shoe tight, if you will, to the hoof, pulls all the slack out of the nails. That way, when I bring the hoof forward and I go through and clinch the nails, all the excess slack is out. That shoe is secured nice and tight to the hoof. It's a little hard to see from this angle. I'm going to use my rasp to level up those nails. And I'm taking the very edge of my rasp and I'm deburring or taking out that little bit of hoof that is right underneath the nail. There's lots of ways to do this. This is the process that I have found that works well for me. It's efficient. And then I'm able to go through and clinch and bend that nail back over itself and back into the hoof wall. Clinching the nails is what keeps those nails tight in the shoe. Then I take the smooth side of my rasp. When you clinch a nail, it leaves burrs that can be kind of sharp and pokey. So if you pick up a hoof, you can easily cut your hand. So I'll take that smooth side of the rasp and just simply clean those up. I know this was a quick run through, but if you liked this video, please stay tuned and we'll address that clubfoot on the other side. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.